Welcome to the Speeding Bulletin. My name is Steve Younis from supermanhomepage.com. This is all the Superman related news that happened during the week, July 15th to July 21st, 2011. Bill Doyle, a supervising location manager for Warner Brothers on the Man of Steel film, attended the opening day at the Plano Farmers Market on Saturday with the local mayor who spoke about how Plano was selected to be Smallville because of its period look and charm consistent with its story's background. Meanwhile, a new video of the sets being built in Plano was posted on YouTube. There were reports this week that filming for Man of Steel will take place in the coming week in the town of West Chicago, Illinois on July 26 and 27. The shoot is expected to take place at the industrial park next to the DuPage County Airport in West Chicago. In any movie's production, a range of rewrites to a script are required as necessary changes become apparent as shooting on the film progresses. With David Goyer having signed on to write the script for a new Godzilla movie, MovieHole.net reports that Zack Snyder has hired longtime collaborator Kurt Johnstad to help with rewrites for Man of Steel. Remember, this is an unconfirmed rumour at this point in time. And speaking of David Goyer, Entertainment Weekly grabbed an interview with him to talk about his extremely busy schedule, working on Man of Steel, publishing his new novel Heaven's Shadow, and now working on Godzilla, as well as his recent foray as a comic book writer with his controversial tale in Action Comics 900. He did confirm that the comic book story has no connection to the movie. Superman the Golden Child is another fan film about the Man of Steel, which is currently in pre-production for release in the US summer of 2012. The makers of the film are currently raising money for the production and costumes needed for this project. Anyone interested in helping out should visit supermangc.com. Once again, there was no TV news this week. However, Superman homepage reviewer James Lance continues reviewing episodes from the 1950s Adventures of Superman TV series. Check out his review of the Season 6 episode The Mysterious Cube, which Professor Lucerne again theorises a way for Superman to apprehend a crook attempting to escape the statutes of limitation by living in an unpenetrable cube. In comic book news, the Superman homepage caught up with Joshua Hale-Fialkov, the comic book writer currently taking on the writing duties for a 3-issue story arc on Superman Batman titled The Secret. Part 1 took place in issue number 85, with the final 2 parts of the story both set to see publication ahead of the relaunch of the DC Universe. Come to the site now to see what Josh had to say about Superman Batman, his thoughts on the relaunch of the DC Universe, and what other work he's got coming up. Newsarama.com spoke with DC Comics co-publishers Dan Didio and Jim Lee to get the inside word on just what we can expect from the new Superman comic books and what their aim is with the relaunch. As for Action Comics, Didio said, "We wanted to get back to some of the grassroots of the character, and the best way to do that is to really go back to the early days of the character, where you see him in his formative years, learning his powers and learning how people react to him." As for the monthly Superman title, we're told that Clark Kent is single and living on his own. He has never been married, Lois Lane is dating a colleague at the Daily Planet, and she has a new position with the paper. DC Entertainment announced the upcoming hardcover publication titled DC The New 52, which will include all 52 new number 1s being published as part of the relaunch of the DC Universe of comic books. Hitting stores on December 7th, just in time for the holiday season, this 1,216-page compilation will sell for $150. DC Comics released their October 2011 solicitations this week. We highlighted for you all the Superman-related comics and products listed to come out in October. Of special interest were the details on Action Comics number 2 and Superman number 2, with everyone eager to learn more about this new continuity. Grant Morrison spoke about his new book Super Gods, comic books, and specifically the Action Comics relaunch in a video interview with Newsarama. He touched on how, even though Martha and Jonathan Kent will have died in this new continuity presented in Action Comics, that we will not see a brooding Superman. Comic Book Resources also spoke with Morrison, who revealed, "We're playing a very different take on the Lex Luthor-Superman relationship. It's quite flipped on its head. Luthor is almost the good guy to a certain extent." Newsarama.com caught up with writers Michael Green and Mike Johnson to talk about the relaunch of the Supergirl comic book, what readers can expect from the new Maid of Might. Green said, "She'll interact with other people in the DC Universe who are experiencing interesting things in the relaunch, other characters you'll recognise. But this is going to be Supergirl's book." There was just one comic book for us to review this week, and that was Superman 713, which was reviewed by Adam DeChannel, who gave it a 1 out of 5, saying, "This storyline is nothing more than a 2-parter that has been exasperatingly overblown." Superman comics shipping this week from July 20th include DC Universe Online Legends number 12, a 3rd printing of Flashpoint number 1, Justice League of America number 59, which is available in a variant cover, Supergirl number 66, Superman Batman number 86, and Tiny Titans number 42. In other news, Warner Brothers Consumer Products and the LEGO Group announced late this week the extension of their successful partnership. Construction sets, minifigures, and buildable characters and creatures inspired by the universe of DC Comics are slated to launch in January 2012. That's all the Superman news there was for the week July 15th to July 21st. Be sure to check out the Superman homepage over the next few days for all our reports and coverage from Comic-Con in San Diego.
Great Scott! Great Scott! Great Scott!
Hello everyone, welcome to Great Scott. I'm Scotty V. Thanks for watching. This week we as Superman fans saw a lot of announcements from DC. Some things were clarified and some things were announced for the very first time. All of this has fans in quite the uproar. First of which is the costume. People have been complaining about changes to the costume for years and years and years. Bryan Singer's film, why did they change it? Well, the Electric Superman, why did they change it? And in many cases, it's been due to the Siegel and Schuster lawsuit. Whether or not this particular one is still up for debate, although you all know my views on that. The new costume in Action #1, which takes place 5 years before the rest of the books that are coming out in the line, has him wearing blue jeans with work boots and his Superman S on a t-shirt with a smaller version of the normal cape. I find this very, very impractical. They're saying it would be a normal stepping stone for him getting to the normal suit, but I think he would just wear jeans and a t-shirt, or jeans and a regular shirt, or a coat, or a trench coat, or something like it to what they did in Smallville, where he just ran around really fast saving people, and what he wore didn't really matter to him. He was just trying to do the right thing. Something else that's happening is that the Kents are vanishing from the scene. Well, not exactly. They're not going to be gone completely, but they're both going to be dead. Meaning that they did adopt him. He did grow up with them, at least from the way it looks. So he should be more human and more Clark Kent than more Superman, but what they're saying is he's going to be even more alien than before. They're going to focus more on his alien heritage. This could mean that he's just going to be experimenting, finding things out, studying, looking things up, and trying to find more about himself and more about his alien planet. Now, it is true that adopted children who live most of their lives with their adoptive parents associate more with the new parents than they do worry about trying to find their natural-born mother and father, and this is because they've been raised by them, they've learned their values from them, and who they are really comes from the adoptive parents. I think this would be the case with Superman, so I think trying to say he's more alien than he is human doesn't make a whole lot of sense as far as we know the human psyche. And even though Superman is Kryptonian, he's still very much like a human, and if he was raised by human parents, he would still have their values, and those would still be what are most important to him. So we'll have to see how that goes. The armor debate has finally been cleared up, as they announced that the armor or the uniform previewed in Superman and in Justice League will in fact be armor that Superman designed based on some of his homeland armor designs, so that he can look more like, I guess, in honor of his Kryptonian heritage, which is okay. You might want to use that as your design if you were designing a uniform, and if Martha Kent isn't the one designing it for you. People are still complaining that he wouldn't need armor, and that may be true unless they do away with the whole invincibility aura, and therefore I think we might see in Action Comics that his little suit and jeans and cape gets torn up and ripped, and he finds himself in a fire with all the clothes burning off and being naked or half naked, and realizing that even though armor isn't necessary for him, it might be necessary for his clothing, because he flies as fast as a jet, he flies into fires, he has mountains fall on top of him, and normal clothing would often be destroyed in those situations. We're also finding out that Lois is going to have a new boyfriend. She won't be involved with Clark, which makes sense if they're rebooting the character from the start, and this is his early days. He wouldn't know Lois yet. Lois is a grown woman, and it's very likely that a grown woman working in the world might very well have a boyfriend. It's not all that strange. She's going to have a new position at the paper, and some people are concerned that this might mean Perry White might not be around because maybe Lois will be the boss. I don't think we have any proof of that just yet, although it is possible, so we'll have to wait and see. The one thing that worries me the most is that we might see a brooding, loner, alienated, isolated negative Superman out for vengeance who's taking the law into his own hands, as they say in the article that we have on the homepage. And this sounds more like Batman to me than it sounds like Superman. An orphaned child who grows up learning to hate crime and knowing that he has to save the weak and oppressed. Parts of that are Superman, but parts of that are not. Superman is a positive beacon of light and hope in the universe, always has been, and should continue that way. We'll have to see, but it sounds like they're definitely going for more of the teenaged crowd, the teenaged idea of nobody likes me and nobody understands me. But we'll see. Remember, in this time of great stress, everyone, always look up in the sky.